Holy crap on a stick. So Xbox's E3 presentation just wrapped up. I'm not going to do an intro because there's a ton of stuff to talk about. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, hit that like button, all that stupid YouTube crap. But let's talk about this presentation because there is a lot of stuff that happened during it. So we kicked things off with Starfield, which was actually leaked by the Washington Post beforehand, and we got an in-game teaser for the game that honestly, it really didn't show all that much, which I thought was a bit odd. I'm gonna guess it's like a Fallout game in space. It does sound pretty cool in theory, and obviously it's going to be a good-looking game. The in-game engine stuff did look very nice, but I definitely want to see more from this game. I do like the Fallout game, so I'm definitely keeping my eye on this game, but surprisingly, Starfield is coming out this year on November 11th. It will be a Game Pass game as well, and it is an Xbox console exclusive. It'll be available on the Xbox series of platforms and of course the PC, but definitely a big way to start out the show. Next up, we got to look at Stalker 2. I'm not familiar with the first Stalker really, but I thought this game looked really cool. The character models looked great. The environments had like a ton of details going on with like different sorts of lighting and weather effects. There were some cool creatures that you were shooting at as well. I thought the gunplay looked very solid. I'm definitely very impressed with what I saw from Stalker 2, and I think this is a game that's going to surprise a lot of people because honestly, it pretty much surprised me. Now, Stalker 2 will be coming out on April 28th of 2022, so a bit of a ways away. This will also be a Game Pass game as well. Then we got to look at Back 4 Blood, which got a nice gameplay trailer. Of course, this is the game that is made by people from the Left 4 Dead people, but Valve doesn't really make games anymore, so it was nice to actually see this game in action, and it definitely looks very more advanced in terms of a visual style than Left 4 Dead did. It could be some good fun. It has a team-up aspect in the game, and there's actually some PvP modes in the game as well, where humans can play as a zombie and take out other people trying to kill them, so I thought that was pretty cool. This is going to be a game that is releasing on October 12th, and once again, it's available on Game Pass. So this went from a game that I wasn't really interested in to something that I will check out since it's coming up on Game Pass. Moving right along was a game called Contraband. It was just sort of a little teaser thing. It didn't really give me any sort of indication of what this game was going to be, so I'm not really going to talk about it. Then, of course, we got some updates to Sea of Thieves, which is a game that Microsoft really loves, but this is a game that, you know, I played it when it first came out. I sort of didn't really care about it all that much, but they're actually adding in something very interesting. Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie franchise is actually going to be joining the game. I wish they had that Michael Bolton song, "This is a tale of Captain Jack Sparrow," like in the trailer, because that would have just been awesome. But it looked pretty cool, you know. It's not just like some half-assed inclusion, like there's a full story that's going along with it. You know, is it enough for me to want to play the game again? Probably not, but I think if you're a fan of Sea of Thieves, this is going to be an awesome addition. It's a free update. It comes out on June 22nd. Yakuza games are available on Game Pass. You can get Yakuza Like a Dragon available now on Game Pass, so that's very cool. There was some Battlefield 5 gameplay up next. Of course, this is a game that's a bit controversial, a $70 game with no single player. I think the game is still going to sell very well, and I will say that Battlefield 5 does look awesome. I definitely liked what I saw from this. Just a bunch of craziness. I really didn't play games like Battlefield 4, but Battlefield 2 on the Xbox 360, I played that game a lot, and I definitely had a lot of fun playing that game. I used to just like take my drill out and like break down walls because I just thought that was so amazing how much damage you could do within the universe itself and within the set pieces themselves. Now, I think this is going to be a really cool game. Like I said, October 22nd, not a Game Pass game. You know, we got all these awesome Game Pass games. Kind of wish it was, but will it be worth $70? I mean, that's really just up to you. There was a game called 12 Minutes that was up next. It's about a man in a time loop. It has Hollywood people doing voices. I didn't really care about this game. It'll be available on August 19th on Game Pass, however. Psychonauts 2 was up next, and honestly, it looks a lot better than I thought it would visually. I think, you know, this is a game that a lot of people are going to compare to something like Ratchet and Clank, which just came out on the PS5, but I definitely think Psychonauts 2 is managing to hold its own when it comes to the visual style of the game. It's a fun, crazy platformer, which, let's be realistic, this is a genre of games that the Xbox has always sort of lacked in, you know, especially within the previous console generation. I mean, what was there? Like, Super Lucky Tales was like the only real platformer that was sort of exclusive to Xbox, so I think this game could actually do pretty well. It comes out on August 25th, and once again, it is available on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, like, you're getting so many games, and this is a trend that continues throughout the show. Bethesda was up next, and they talk about some games that were coming on Game Pass. They added some more games into Game Pass as well that are currently available, such as the original Doom from 2016. Highly recommend you play that game, one of my favorite first-person shooters of all time. They're actually adding in improvements to Doom Eternal by adding in ray tracing and up to 120 frames per second in a free update that's that's coming in the month of July, so definitely a reason to revisit Doom Eternal. Fallout 76 got some airtime, you know, evidently it's a much better game now, but something I'm still not interested in. I prefer the traditional Fallout games, but good for people that are still playing Fallout 76. There's a bunch of new content coming to the game for free, so that's a cool thing. Elder Scrolls Online got some airtime as well. Once again, I'm not really a big fan of Bethesda's online games. I know there are people that love games like Fallout 76 and ESO as it's known, but for me, this wasn't anything I was super interested in, but, you know, kind of cool. So my ear was itching and I went up to get a Q-tip because this presentation had a lot of stuff going on with it. And when I came back, there was a game called Party Animals and I didn't really know what the hell was going on in this. It looked kind of weird. I don't really know. It's coming out in 2022. Hades is coming to Xbox and will be available on Xbox Game Pass in August, and it got a little trailer for it. Next up was an interesting game called Somerville. I don't really know what to sort of think of this game. I sort of like the aesthetic of it though. It looks like a game in which like you're a man trying to save your family, but it's like a platformer sort of thing. It's a smaller looking indie title, but it's coming to Game Pass in 2022. And then we got one of the big games that everyone was looking forward to with Halo Infinite. What is the status of this game? What is going on with it? And I definitely think Halo Infinite did not disappoint this time. The multiplayer is now confirmed to be free to play, meaning that you do not have to buy Halo Infinite. You don't have to get it on Game Pass. You can simply play the multiplayer for completely free. Now, I can't act like I care about the story in Halo because if you watch the Spawncast, you would know I have never completed a story campaign in Halo, but, you know, I'm more interested in the multiplayer. We got to look at the Halo Infinite story campaign. Like I said, it looked cool. You know, graphically things looked a lot better, and the trailer was definitely trying to sell me on the story, but, you know, I just feel like I can stick with this the rest of my life, being the guy who never finished a Halo campaign. Maybe it'll be something I'm known for. And then we got multiplayer trailer, which definitely piqued my interest because that is what I'll be spending most of my time in. You'll be able to play this up to 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. The campaign and the first multiplayer season will be launching this holiday season. Did not get a concrete release date, but hopefully they are able to stick with that. Hopefully this does stay a 2021 game. And the multiplayer trailer was just awesome. It didn't disappoint me whatsoever. It looked like a Halo game for sure, but I think they've done enough to sort of expand it with like the hook shot and whatnot. The larger maps definitely seem to be a bit more interesting in things of terms like size and scope, but once again, I thought the multiplayer looked very good from a graphical standpoint. Maybe nothing too super groundbreaking, but I don't need that. I just want my traditional Halo experience with new stuff added in and it looking as pretty as humanly possible, and I definitely think that Halo Infinite was a complete 180 turnaround from what we saw last time from this game to what we saw today. Was definitely a huge improvement. An optimized Diablo 2 remaster is coming to the Xbox this September with up to 4K graphics and up to 8-player co-op. A Plague Tale is getting a sequel with A Plague Tale Requiem coming in 2022. Got a little bit of a teaser. This is going to be a Game Pass game. I recently just started playing A Plague Tale on the Xbox Series X, the original game, because it was a Game Pass game and I enjoyed it. You know, it's an enjoyable stealth game, and I think that the graphics look a lot better in this version of the game than in the original game. Far Cry 6 was up next. We got some gameplay of it running at 4K 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. I can't really say it made me any more interested in this game. It feels like overkill how much we've seen this game just the past week. We got a trailer last week for Far Cry 6 from Ubisoft, then we saw it at Ubisoft's presentation, and now more Far Cry 6. Like, I get it. It's Far Cry. It's the 6th game in the series. Like, can we move on? We got to look at a game called Slime Rancher, which is like a weird sort of first-person shooter for a younger audience. It's Slime Rancher 2, so I don't know, maybe I missed Slime Rancher 1. Maybe the Slime Rancher franchise is something that I need to get a hold of and check out. And then we got to look at a new snowboarding game called Shredders, which I like snowboarding. I went snowboarding one time, and I definitely enjoyed it. My background in skateboarding definitely helped. It's an open-world style game where you cruise down mountains, pulling off tricks. As long as it doesn't require me to have like an Ubisoft login like Steep did, I will definitely check out this game. It'll be available in December, and once again, it is on Game Pass. Atomic Heart was up next. Evidently, this is a game that a lot of people are excited for. I don't know anything about it. The trailer was kind of weird. It had like a J-pop soundtrack going on. Obviously, it's a time-controlling first-person shooter game. Maybe something I'll check out. I don't know. It looked kind of interesting. Then we got a gorgeous-looking 2D game called Replaced. I really enjoyed the aesthetic of this game. It's going to be a 2022 Game Pass game. You pretty much know the drill by now. Most of the games that we have been seeing are Game Pass games, but this is something I'm definitely keeping my eye on, as I really like the graphical style of the game. Grounded got an update trailer. I played Grounded and I wanted it to be like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and it really wasn't. There's more stuff coming, so if that's something you're interested in, that's cool. Grounded was definitely not a game for me. Maybe I'm just not a fan of games as a service games. That's sort of a motif you could see going on. The Among Us update that we saw during Summer Game Fest was also covered in this as well. And then we saw Eiyuden Chronicle, which is the spiritual successor to the Suikoden series. I'm probably saying the name of the game wrong, but holy shit, this game looks freaking awesome. Like, it has that 2D visual style, but with like 3D backgrounds, but like instead of like other games that we've seen so far in the genre, sort of like what Square Enix is doing, these backgrounds are like photorealistic. So it just looks, it's such an interesting dichotomy between the two different sorts of graphical styles that are happening in the game. And this is actually going to be a Game Pass game as well, which is kind of funny because it was a Kickstarter game. I don't know, maybe if you pledged for it on Kickstarter, you will get the game early, but definitely a game I'm keeping my eye on. We also saw a new trailer for Ascent, which is that cyberpunk style top-down game that we've seen a bunch so far, so I'm not really going to hark on it too much. Age of Empires 4 was up next, and I've never played any of these games. I never will play any of these games, but if you're a fan of the Age of Empires series, hey look, there's Age of Empires 4 coming out on your Xbox. Next up, we got a teaser trailer for The Outer Worlds 2. The game is a very far ways away. They pretty much made fun of it, you know, sort of broke down that fourth wall, just picking at the game, you know, doing things like slow-mo and lens flare, and here's a look at the open world, but we're not really going to show you all of the open world, because obviously this game is a bit of a ways away. I think they just sort of wanted to announce that the game was in development, so this was a good way to do it. Flight Simulator was up next, and finally, I felt comfortable enough to get out of my chair and get my Amazon packages from the front door, but I'm still hungry. Now, I don't really care about this game. I don't like flying. I don't want to be in a plane, but people love it, so who am I to disagree? I did end up getting a granola bar because I was starving, so thank you, Flight Simulator, for allowing me to do at least something. We then got a look at Forza Horizon 5, which, oh man, this game looked absolutely gorgeous. There's different types of vehicles in this game, like dune buggies. Of course, there's going to be your classic sports cars to race through. The game takes place in Mexico, which I think they've done an absolutely phenomenal job with the visuals of this game. They use like 12K photos to sort of make the environments in the game, and it just looks absolutely stunning, like jaw-droppingly stunning how good this game actually looks. And of course, Forza Horizon games always play very well, so I think this game is going to be a big sleeper hit. You know, a lot of people don't like racing games, but I feel like this is a good enough mix of like arcade style racing games with more realistic style of racing games. They also ended up doing a bit of a talking session with the game, showing you different stuff, the different technology that was going on in the game. Thank God for this, because this was the first time where we actually had an elongated talking session. So I was able to smoke a cigarette, I was able to take a whiz, like I was a very happy person, and I didn't have to miss anything from this showcase. And then finally, our good friend Slick Philly, old Phil Spencer, came out, and this was the first time we had seen him during this entire show. This show was a 90-minute show, and it had gone like 75 minutes, and we hadn't seen Slick Philly, so it was good to see him. You know, he looked like he just left the strip club after a late night, but he did show off some things that are coming out in the future. Basically, just a little sizzle reel of games like Fable, Avowed, games that were not at E3 this year for Xbox, which is kind of crazy considering all the other games that we got announcements for, to think that there's still games like Fable, Avowed, Elder Scrolls 6, Hellblade 2 coming up on the horizon. And then he had a brand new game to show us, and this game is coming to us from Arcane team, who is a part of Bethesda. It's an open world shooter in which you can play alone or play with others, and it's an Xbox exclusive. Now, we only got a CG trailer for this game, and it's not really a realistic style of game. It more has like a comic book aesthetic to it, and there's a heavy emphasis on vampires in the game. I will say that the trailer did look very interesting. There's lots of weird cult stuff going on in the game as well. It's kind of hard to get a gauge on it though, because it is a brand new IP from Arcane, but Xbox must be pretty confident in this game in order to show it as sort of the last thing that was going on with their presentation. I'm definitely intrigued by it. I think the vampire science fiction theme definitely makes it help it stand out from other games in the genre, because let's be realistic, there are a lot of shooting games on the Xbox family of consoles, so I think this has a chance to sort of stick out. The game is actually called Redfall. It is a summer 2022 game, and it's definitely something I'll be keeping my eye on. Then we got a sizzle reel to sort of wrap up the show. Wowzers! So what did I think about that Xbox show? It was a damn good show. Look, first off, the pacing of it was absolutely phenomenal. You didn't have all these lulls with just stuff that nobody cares about and just people just talking randomly about stuff. It was like game. And whether or not those games really hit with you or resonated with you is just up to your personal interpretation and your styles of games. But for me, there was a ton of stuff that was announced during this. There was a ton of stuff that was showcased during this that made me say, wow, you know, the Xbox is definitely shaping up to have a great second half of 2021. In 2022 and beyond looks absolutely phenomenal. So many interesting games were shown during this. So many games that are going to be Xbox console exclusives. So many games that are coming to Game Pass on day one. The value of the Xbox Series X definitely went up tenfold for me with this presentation. I was very impressed with it, and whether or not the games really resonate with you, it's just sort of up to your own personal interpretation, your gaming styles. But I feel like there was something for everyone at this presentation, whether you like platformers, RPGs, gun games, racing games. There was a bunch of stuff here. It was a great presentation. It was done well. I was kind of worried that with this 90-minute presentation there was going to be a lot of filler, but I feel like for the most part it was all killer and very, very minimal filler. So good job, Xbox. You have definitely saved E3 thus far. You know, yesterday was not that good of a day with Ubisoft and Gearbox. Like, definitely a bit of a disappointment, but I definitely enjoyed Xbox's presentation. So many games coming out, so many games to keep my eye on, and it's definitely looking very positive for Xbox going into the second half of 2021 and beyond. So let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of Xbox's presentation, because I feel like a vast majority of people definitely enjoyed this presentation. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. I will be covering Square Enix later on today. There's another video up on the channel from earlier this morning. Yes, things are getting crazy here. I mean, it's E3, baby. This is the season for gamers. And as always, guys, thank you for being here. If you are new, subscribe, check out other videos, you know, hit the like button, all that sort of YouTube meta crap. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.